Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Radhe Radhe Govind Radhe, Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe, Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govind Radhe, Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe, Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Govinda Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Govinda Bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Govinda bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Govinda bhajo Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe bhajo Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe bhaj Radhe Govinda.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe bhajo Radhe Govinda.
बोल कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय।
Hare Krishna. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming on this blistery winter day or winter evening. To warm your hearts, we have a presence of His Holiness Romapada Swami amongst with us. This Thanksgiving weekend is a long tradition here. Since last 11 years, Maharaj has been coming here and giving at least 13 sessions. Wednesday evening it started and it ends on a Sunday evening. And every day about 3 sessions. So, and this year, we learned Brahma Samhita. This is the second part of Brahma Samhita seminar. And you are going to witness last 2 verses of this beautiful book that encompasses, it's epitome of Krishna Bhakti. This book explains that why one should be a devotee of Krishna and then what happens when we become Krishna's devotee. So Lord Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, as we know, Lord Brahma spoke these particular prayers glorifying Lord Krishna. So it's a beautiful prayer. And also at this time I would like to thank the video and audio team, Namavrata Prabhu, Amar Prabhu, Hari Vallabha, and Arun Lakshman Prabhu. They've done a tremendous job. These sessions were watched first 2 days, at least 2,300 views were there online, worldwide. So I have not learned the sessions of the statistic for last 2 days, but which I'll find out. But what they have done is commendable. You will appreciate what they have done, and in these videos can be watched a little bit later on, anytime, anywhere. Namavata Prabhu is going to upload them on YouTube, and you'll be able to immensely enjoy them. And is there any other question about Brahma Samhita? Just ask any of our devotee in a temple. They will be able to help you. So we are very happy to have you here. Without further delay, give a big round of applause to Romapada Swami Maharaj. And we wish Maharaj keeps coming. A little bit about Maharaj. He's one of the most senior sannyasi in the ISKCON movement, which is a worldwide movement of at least 800 to 1,000 temples, and then hundreds and thousands of devotees practicing worldwide, which was established by Śrī Prabhupada in 1966 in New York City. And Maharaj is from New York area, so he has been trained personally by Śrī Prabhupada from very early days, and he serves as a governing body commission in East Coast, like New York, New Jersey area, Connecticut area, and Midwest area. And Maharaj is a wonderful preacher. He likes to preach in a college, in a youth, and he likes to keep coming to Seattle here and train us during Thanksgiving weekend. And we pray, Maharaj, that Krishna allows you to keep coming here years after year and keep training us on various topics on Thanksgiving weekend. Also, Maharaj comes here during June and takes us for a Japa retreat. And that itself is a big event. If you have not attended it, please come in one of our retreat. That's also a lot of fun. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hari Bol.
I heard your questions. I thought maybe you were ill. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Pidana Balabha Janarandana Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana Jasodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Hari Vedikacharya Astatarasatsa Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrī Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Śrī Brahma Samhita Ki Śrī Radha Nila Madhava Ki Samvida Bhaktavrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. If someone could take the service of standing by the back door, and when people come and go, make sure the door stays closed, that would be really nice. All along what I've been doing, when we have new people coming, different sessions, is make a summary, but how do I make a summary of the whole Brahma Samhita? Lord Brahma is the original preceptor of our sampradaya. He received, that is, directly from Krishna. He received transcendental knowledge, according to the language of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaye Adikavaye. From within his heart, Lord Brahma received transcendental knowledge. And the Vedas manifested from him, from Krishna directly to Lord Brahma. And then Lord Brahma in turn instructed Narada, Narada Muni instructed Vyasa, and so on, the line of disciplic succession unbroken until today. Through that disciplic succession, Just as Krishna indicates in Bhagavad Gita, knowledge is to be received in that way. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. Transcendental knowledge is to be received in that unbroken line of disciplic succession, and so we're deeply indebted to Lord Brahma. In addition to the whole of the Vedic knowledge, he directly was responsible for providing this Brahma Samhita. Samhita, a nice English word, is hymn, or as in H-Y-M-N, as in like song. So we've been discussing these songs or prayers or stotras of Lord Brahma, ending in the refrain, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And it's been wonderful bhajamiing Govinda, worshipping Govinda together, ensemble, in chorus. In these prayers, Lord Brahma reveals the ocean of truth in the language of Brahma Samhita. He became well acquainted with the ocean of truth with a capital T. The truths about spiritual reality, ultimate spiritual reality, beyond the limitations of all the things that are temporary and then withdrawn. Not part of this cosmic manifestation, but the spiritual realm far beyond the temporary created realm. It's most amazing and most merciful exposition. He describes the abode of Krishna, the form of Krishna, and the pastimes of Krishna. He provides the essential elements for understanding and eradicating doubts within the realm of transcendence, because we have the tendency to use material yardsticks to understand that which is not measurable by material yardsticks. Our lens of material conception, duality, trying to understand the realm of absolute, it doesn't work. So he gives some foundational elements that, if understood correctly, those elements, then transcendence can be more readily approached. He reveals that not by study of the Vedas alone, but through the medium of bhakti, these higher truths can be understood. And then he discloses the higher stages of bhakti, bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, and through premanjana charita bhakti vilonchanena, through covering or smearing, anointing the eyes with the anjana of prema, one can see Krishna. And then in several verses he describes that Krishna is the basis of everything, and literally everything, matter, spirit, and everything. Different categories of how he is the controller, or is the basis and support of all those things. Then we heard on the whole other section, 10 verses, he's the Lord of all lords, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Many Ishwaras, but he is the Ishwara of Ishwaras, the Lord of lords. Much like the Bible teaches, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, hallelujah. But it gives the detail, how it is like that, in detail. Very, very beautiful. And then we're just finishing his prayers. This morning we heard about the position that Govinda has with all fairness and equanimity in dealing with all those who are engaged in virtue and those engaged in vice, and without friendship or enmity towards anyone. He ultimately is the creator of that system by which living entities rise or the living entities fall. He invests potencies in those activities that cause elevation. There's potencies in those activities that cause degradation. That potency comes from the potent, the omnipotent, Govinda. And finally we ended with, while he's neutral, equal to all, in a very wonderful and perhaps puzzling way, he shows special kindness to the devotees by uprooting even the very tendency of nescience and evil activity or sinful activity to the very root through the medium of bhakti. So these are the final two verses. The verse that we're going to discuss first is the last verse that has the Govindam Adi Purusham refrain at the end. And this verse is describing, as others approach him, he reciprocates. Like the verse of Bhagavad Gita, Yayata mam prapadyante, tangs tadaiva bhajamyaham. Bhajamyaham. As they worship him, or as they have regard for him, because even if the regard for him is like Kamsa or Shishupal, their minds are fixed upon him in some inimical way. And then he reciprocates. As they regard him, it's just in kindness with how persons regard him, he reciprocates. So let us chant the verse together, as you see on the screen here.
Yatasya Santishintanam Apure Govindavani Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govindavani Purusham Tamam Bhajami.
You girls are wonderful. You're the best chorus I've seen. These 10 girls got you all beat. They're so enthusiastic to chant Brahma Samhita, and their voices are so sweet sounding. Thank you. Very enthusing. So this is, oh great. Help. Technology. See? The process of meditation upon Krishna results in different goals or different destinations. So we'll be discussing that theme. We know that there's one verse in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna speaks twice. Well, at least the first part of it is the same. There's only one. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Some of the persons named and the qualities that are spoken of in the verse, they're not bhaktas like Kamsa. He was very Krishna conscious, but he wasn't favorable. He wanted to kill Krishna. Shishupal was very Krishna conscious, but he hated Krishna. We'll describe a little bit about how much he hated Krishna, but he really hated Krishna. Very Krishna conscious, but not a devotee. So he got the Manmana part, but he didn't get the Bhava Madbhakto part. Become my devotee. Madhyaji didn't get that part either. And Mam Namaskaro, he got 25% out of 100. But even that 25%, he got liberation because of the Manmana part. So, here's the translation. I hope it works. Oh, look, it works. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him, we see here's the gopis who Krishna has left. They were called to perform rasa dance with Krishna, and they were enjoying so much the opportunity to be with Krishna. This thing that sometimes happens when we're successful in our endeavors, we start to become a little proud. Krishna doesn't like pride in the hearts of his devotees. So they became a little proud. Oh, here we are with Krishna. They were proud of that attainment. So what did Krishna do? He just disappeared. And so we see them meditating in great lamentation, and the intensity of love intensified by separation from Krishna. So deeply meditating upon him, as we see from the beautiful painting. The meditators of whom? By meditating upon him, under the sway of wrath. This is the translation of the verse. This is Kamsa, standing with his sword in the air, because he heard from Narada Muni, who came to visit his palace, that Vasudeva, the 8th child of Devaki, Vasudeva lied. He said he would give the 8th child of Devaki, but he took the 8th child of Devaki, Narada said, in the middle of the night when the child was born, to the other side of the river Jamuna to go cool. So that child that you tried to kill, that was a female child, that wasn't the 8th son of Devaki, or 8th child of Devaki, that was someone else. He picked up his sword. I'm going to kill Vasudeva. And Narada said, no, wait. It's not Vasudeva that you have to worry about. It's the 8th child, the Devaki. Go get him, Vasudeva. Or Kamsa. Don't worry about Vasudeva. Worry about the 8th child of Devaki. Go get him. Now, why would Narada do something like that? And Narada did something like that because he wanted to hasten and move forward the pastime for which Krishna appeared. What was the purpose of Krishna's appearance? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That's the why Krishna appeared, and he was so absorbed in his pastimes in Vrindavan that the purpose of appearing in this world for killing the demons or diminishing the influence of the demoniac kings on the planet Earth, that was the reason the demigods and Mother Earth had come and petitioned him to come. He was so absorbed in his pastimes Vrindavan, he'd forgotten. At least so it appeared. So Narada wanted Krishna to come and kill Kamsa, this wicked Kamsa, and all of his cronies, and the other terrible kings on earth. So that's why he did it. And it worked. In fact, not only he told Kamsa, as you see, this is Kamsa's reaction, I'm going to kill Krishna. Narada knows Krishna can't be killed. He has a Sat-Chit Ananda Vigraha form. He heard it from the Lord Brahma, his father. Sat-Chit Ananda Vigraha from Brahma Samhita. You can't kill one who has a form that's full of eternality, knowledge, and bliss. And he's Paramaeshwara, he's the supremely powerful person. Kamsa is a small fry. He can't harm Krishna at all. So after Narada spoke like that to Kamsa, Kamsa made his plan to try to kill Krishna. That it was bring Krishna to Mathura, and he would see that Krishna was killed in this way, that way. He had his plan. Narada then went to Vrindavan. Narada went to Vrindavan after this to see Krishna. And he saw him so much absorbed in his pastimes with the cowherd boys that there's no way. How am I going to go say, hey, Krishna, you're supposed to be doing this other thing? He couldn't do that. So what he did was, he said, I long to see the day when your purpose for your appearance in earth will be fulfilled. You'll go to Mathura, and Vasudeva and Devaki, your mother and father, they'll be freed from the prison house of Kamsa. They're suffering so much, I long to see that day. And you will destroy Kamsa and all of the other demoniac kings for which you appeared in this world. And then you'll go to Dwarka and so many other demoniac personalities, and I long to see that happen very soon. And Krishna became very inspired and said, I'm going tomorrow. I'll go tomorrow. Mission accomplished. He went the next day. Compliments of Narada. But in so doing, he touched the heart of Kamsa, who thought of even more intensely of Krishna under the sway of wrath. Or amorous passion. We saw this painting before. This is actually Aniruddha, the grandson of Krishna, but he looked very much like Krishna, same complexion. Darkish, shama complexion. Natural, friendly love mentioned in this verse. Very nice painting. Who are the personalities in this very nice painting? We know one on the left side is Krishna because of the complexion. On the right side, he's got a mustache, so that's not Krishna. It's Arjuna. Krishna and Arjuna, dearmost friends. So who's behind them? On our left, behind them, and there's the mother of Arjuna and the Pandavas, Queen Kunti. And who's seated next to Queen Kunti? Draupadi. How do we know? Because she's blackish like Krishna. Draupadi, we discussed this earlier today, yesterday or something. When she appeared out of the sacrificial fire, that's how she was born, her complexion was blackish. So besides Draupadi, she was also known as Krishna. Not Krishna, but Krishna. And then in the front is Domya, the family priest. Great, our chorus is getting up closer. So, natural, friendly love, Krishna and Arjuna. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Krishna is in a relationship of sakha, or friendship, with Arjuna. Fear. That's Kamsa when Narada told him, "You better watch your backside, Kamsa. That 8th child of Devaki is just over there in Vrindavan. Better watch out." So his life actually was ruled by fear. When he was sleeping, he would have nightmares instead of sleeping. In his dreams, he would dream that he would see his shadow, and his shadow had holes. Sometimes he would see in his dream he was riding on a chariot in the sky drawn by donkeys. Sometimes he'd see himself in a dream where it was his body without his head. It was really bad dreams. He knew his number was up because the 8th child of Devaki was going to kill him. So he thought of Krishna day and night and day, and when brushing his teeth and when lying down and when sitting on the royal throne, and he couldn't stop thinking of Krishna in fear of Krishna. Parental affection is mentioned in the verse. Of course, foremost, we see in the upper left there's Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda serving a meal to Krishna, because Krishna lived in the palace of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. But so many other assistants, some playing music, some different entertainment for the royal family. But at the center of it all was Nanda and Yasoda and their parental affection. But not only Nanda and Yasoda, the lower picture is a wonderful pastime during that 1 year when the parents of the other cowherd boys had the opportunity to fulfill their desire to have Krishna as their son. Krishna had manifested himself in the exact likeness of their son, and the cows which to have Krishna as their child, calf, Krishna became their calf by manifesting a form in exact likeness. So much so, those of you that are mothers or fathers, imagine not being able to recognize your own child. Someone's imitating your own child and you don't know it. Not possible. It's not possible. All the innuendos of voice and emotion and feelings and, you know, tilts of the head and everything that, you know, that your child does. I've seen it. Like in my mind right now is a scene like this at our farm community in Pennsylvania called Gitanagari. We were having a retreat, and there were more than this many people in the room, and just like this, men here, ladies here, a child cried really loud all of a sudden, and out of all that audience, immediately the father and the mother knew which blood-curdling cry was their child. And so they immediately stood up and ran to get their child. Not everybody, because they knew that scream was their child. The parents know their child, and the child know their parents. So Krishna manifested exact likeness of the boys. And the parents were amazed at how much their affection for their son grew and grew and grew to the kind of affection that they had for Krishna. Those of you that are parents, you may have affection for other children. That's also natural. But you have special affection for your own child. That's also natural. But in Vrindavan, the parents have more affection for Krishna than their own children. That's special. It's Vrindavan. So when their child, the affection for their child began to rise and be equal to their affection for Krishna, they were amazed. But Krishna knew why, because their son was actually him. He was fulfilling their desire. He fulfills the desire of all living entities. Yayatamam prapadyante tam stadaiva bhajamyaham. So the parental affection of the mothers and fathers of Vrindavan and the parental affection of the cows and the bulls was fulfilled, because they had this parental affection toward Krishna too. They wanted to give their milk to Krishna directly, like they give to their calves. The affection between the cow and the calf is just like the affection between the mother and their child. Just like, you know, these children that are sitting on the laps of their mothers or their fathers. The affection of mother and fatherhood is natural. Imagine what that's like in relation to Krishna. It's transcendental, whatever, it's beyond our imagination. It's a transcendental. So that's the parental affection mentioned in the verse. Delusion. Well, the delusion that's mentioned specifically, well, we'll come to it. There's a nice chart. This is Shishupal having the speaking part of his body separated from the rest of his body. Because in the royal assembly, when grandfather Bhishma was called upon, as was the custom in a grand festival assembly like this, to honor the most noble person in the assembly. It's culture to do like that. So Bhishma Dev, the grandfather Pitamaha Bhishma, was called upon to speak. So he spoke his heart out, glorifying Krishna in so many wonderful ways. But in that assembly was one who completely hated Krishna, Shishupal. I'll tell the story. Shishupal was related to Krishna, of the same, you know, he was a relative, I don't know the exact relation, like cousin or second cousin or something like that. He was related to Krishna. And he was born shortly after Krishna was born, some number of days after Krishna was born. So when the new child was born, Shishupal, persons went to see, oh, how nice, there's this new baby, and goo goo gaga and all that. So in the course of seeing the small child, someone mentioned, oh, did you hear? Here in the area, another child was also born, and his name was Krishna. And as soon as this just a few days old child, Shishupal, just heard Krishna's name, he started screaming. You know, those of you that are parents, or those of us who are sannyasis, there's different kinds of crying. There's this kind of whimpering. And then there's this other one that's like, it starts at low volume, and then the next one is really loud volume. And then there's another one that's just screaming. So that's what Shishupal did. He just screamed. And he wouldn't stop. They didn't know what was wrong. Get the doctor. Something happened. The doctor couldn't find anything wrong. He screamed the whole night. He screamed the next day. And the next day. He screamed a whole week. He screamed for 2 weeks. He screamed for a whole month. Just to hear the sound of Krishna's name. He really had it in for Krishna. And as he was growing up, he constantly thought of Krishna. You know, someone would greet him and say, Shishupal, how are you doing today? What's on your mind? What's your plan for the day? I'm thinking, I don't like Krishna. Or something like that. Krishna's awful. And when grandfather Bhishma started glorifying Krishna, Shishupal, he couldn't control himself. He stood up in the assembly and started blaspheming Krishna. You see the person in the front there with that big club? You know what that one is. Bhima. Bhima was ready to smash him, and Krishna just held up his hand. Let him go. And after the 100th time of blaspheming Krishna, Krishna lifted his Sudarshan chakra, and the head of Shishupal right in the assembly, because he had made this vow, promise, because they were concerned that Krishna, it's a long story, one of these Mahabharata long stories, but that Krishna being all powerful would destroy Shishupal, so he was requested to not harm him. So he agreed, unless for 100 times he is offensive like this, then I will. So he kept his promise. And there's a beginning part of the 7th canto. At the end of this festival, after they cleaned up the bloody mess where Shishupal was, the festival continued. At the end of the festival, Yudhishthira, the elder of the Pandavas, for whom the festival was being held, requested Narada Muni to please explain what happened here. Shishupal was such a nasty person. He was a vile person. He was a vicious person. And we all saw when he was killed by Krishna, his soul went up in the air just above his body, hovered there for some time, and then entered into the body of Krishna. We all saw it. He achieved liberation. How is that possible? Great sages and purified souls and tapasvis and rishis, they aspire for that sometimes for lifetimes and don't achieve it. And this bad person, Shishupal, he achieved liberation. How is that? And Narada said, just see the power of the holy name. Although he was calling in derision and scorn, he was calling the name. And the name is so powerful, even in that kind, namabhas, the shadow of the holy name. It's so powerful, one can achieve liberation. What to speak of if one chants the holy name with love and devotion, without offense. So the wonderful section there describing the importance and the power of the holy name. So even those in this position, like Shishupal, by their meditation upon Krishna, not favorable, we don't follow the footsteps of Shishupal, we follow the footsteps of great devotees. But even Shishupal, such a great benefit will come. Reverence and willing service. Attain to bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation. So Shishupal did not achieve the position of eternal service of Krishna in the spiritual world, but he did achieve a very special position. And freed off completely from his material contamination and merged in the spiritual effulgence of the Lord. So here's the same list of these terms, and we'll just quickly give examples. Examples of persons who are attracted to Krishna with wrath or anger. And that's Shishupal. With amorous passion, kama is the Sanskrit term used in the verse. Yam krodha kama sahaja pranayadimi. So, the gopis, a simple one. Natural friendly love, sahaja pranaya, and that's the Pandavas. And fear, we discussed, kamsa. And parental affection, vatsalya, so many. I didn't even put any on the list. Delusion, the example that's given by Bhaktisiddhanta in his purport is the Brahmanas in Vrindavan, the Yajnik Brahmanas in Vrindavan, who were approached by the cowherd boys on behalf of Krishna and Balaram for something to eat. And the Brahmanas paid no attention. They just went on with their yajna. These silly boys. We're just going to ignore them. But the wives of the Brahmanas, when they heard Krishna wants something to eat, immediately they hastened and gathered things, and with great devotion they presented things to Krishna, which Krishna accepted. And when the wives went back to their homes, their husbands realized, we're doing these yajnas, but for whom are we doing these yajnas, or for what purpose are we doing these yajnas? We don't even know. And when the purpose comes to us, we're still not knowing. You are far more spiritually advanced than we are. But unfortunately, the delusion part was that although they knew that Krishna was worshipable master, they didn't do anything because they were afraid of Kamsa. Kamsa might come to know and we could be in trouble. So we won't display our devotion to Krishna or appreciation of Krishna. Yajnik Brahmanas. And Guru Gaurava, reverential devotion. And willing service, Sevya Bhavai. Narada is one example. In relation to Krishna, of course, the classic is Hanuman as his willing service to Ram. On the left-hand side, we have this painting of Putana. Putana was the first demon sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. And she was a witch, not in a figurative way, not one of the Harry Potter types, but she was the real one. Prabhupada described this. I remember hearing this lecture once. He said, even today in North India, there are witches, and they know the art of riding on a broomstick, and by some black magic. So Harry Potter wasn't so far off. Anyway, she was a witch, and it was her specialty. She was a really nasty witch. Her specialty was killing little children and drinking the blood of little children. That was like her favorite activity. And Kamsa, she was a friend of Kamsa. They were a good pair. So he sent Putana to go kill Krishna. So she went to kill Krishna. She disguised herself. She had the capacity of assuming different forms. That's another art that she had. So she assumed the form of a beautiful woman, like a celestial beauty. So much so that when she came to the house of Nanda, or the palace of Nanda and Yashoda, she was so beautiful. Everyone just allowed her to enter. And she went right into the inner chamber where Krishna was lying in his little crib. And when she saw Krishna, the beauty of Krishna, for a moment she felt, oh, such a beautiful boy. Some motherly-like affection. But that didn't last too long. The next moment was, let me kill him. So Krishna accepted that motherly affection, and he, by taking the milk from her breast, which was smeared with enough poison to kill 100 people, he drew the milk and drew her life air out of her body. And then her body assumed its humongous, several mile long witch body, knocking over trees and so many things. But it's described in Canto 3 by Uddhava that Krishna gave her a position of, in the spiritual world, as an eternal associate of Mother Jasoda in a motherly role. Shishupal got Sayuja, Mukti. Putana got a position in Goloka Vrindavan. Why? Because Krishna overlooked the dastardly part, the mean and nasty trying to kill Krishna part, and just accepted the part of her motherly affection, that momentary motherly affection. Krishna is so kind. Krishna is so kind. And on the right side is Krishna raising his fist above the head of Kamsa. And just one of his fist, and Kamsa was finished. Kamsa was so powerful. If we had an extra hour, I would elaborate on these pastimes. Very powerful. But compared to Krishna, like a fly, insignificant. And he attained liberation from his fixing his mind upon Krishna in fear. There's our friend Shishupal again. And of course, Hanuman, in his service to Ram, he's eternally fixed in his meditation and contemplation of Ram. And the right side is the painting of their first meeting. When Sugriva saw Ram coming, he sent Hanuman in disguise as a Brahmana from Rishamukh mountain to go to Lake Pampa and see who are these two heroes dressed in tree bark with bow and arrows. It must be Bali's trick. Go find out who they are. But just by being in the presence of Ram and Lakshman, their first meeting, immediately, I don't need a disguise. These two are well-wishers and friends. As Sugriva's minister, he immediately could understand this. So, a little discussion from Nectar Devotion about the ways of fixing the mind upon the Supreme. In the positive sense, there's two types of devotion where one fixes one's mind upon the Supreme. One is the regulative kind, and the other is the spontaneous kind. So if you don't mind, we'll just have a little Nectar Devotion class for about 3 minutes. Vaidhi is the first type. Vaidhi means rules and regulations, or that devotion which arises by following the vidhis, the rules. Then it's Vaidhi Bhakti, following the vidhis or the rules or the injunctions of Scripture. And the characteristic of it is duty. Just like, you may train your children, tell the truth, don't lie. Why? Because you don't lie, you tell the truth. Don't steal others' property. Why? Because it's wrong to steal. You have whatever you need, you let me know, and I'll see that you have what you need, but don't steal. So moralities and ethics and duties are assigned by different vidhis. So with bhakti, there's rules or vidhis to be followed. These injunctions include those which develop within one the inclination to perform devotional service, as well as those described, those are not to be done, the do's and the don'ts. Injunctions and prohibitions. From Rupa Goswami, he describes this stage of bhakti in this way. When there is no attachment or no spontaneous loving service to the Lord, when one is engaged in service to the Lord simply out of obedience to the order of the spiritual master or in pursuance of the Scriptures, Such obligatory service is called Vaidhi Bhakti. So that's one type of bringing the mind to become fixed upon Krishna or the Supreme. There's another type, and that's called the Raganuga. And that's based upon spontaneous attraction and spontaneous feelings connected with that spontaneous attraction. Here's what Nectar Devotion says about that type of bhakti. Persons desiring to follow in the footsteps of such eternal devotees of the Lord as the Vrishnis and the Vrindavan denizens are called Raganuga devotees, which means that they are trying to attain to the perfection of those devotees. These Raganuga devotees do not follow the regular principles of devotional service very strictly, but by spontaneous nature they become attracted to some of the eternal devotees, such as Nanda and Yasoda, and they try to follow in their footsteps simultaneously. There's a gradual development of the ambition to become like a particular devotee, and this activity is called Raganuga. It's like a role model in conventional terms. Somebody wants to be an athlete. I'll just share this with you. As a sannyasi, one of the things I do is I travel. And one of the things that I do is, when I wake up in the morning, I have to figure out where I am. It's interesting. Okay. Okay, that's okay. So, one of the things that happens in, especially where there's remote kind of traveling, there's not a temple and there's like a gathering of people way over there. It happens from time to time that I stay in the room where the young boy that's gone to college would stay. So they have an empty room in their home. So I get to see the anatomy of the room of a young college boy. And Indian families, it's like there's like a model, and it goes like this. There's 3 walls and then a little nightstand. One wall is their favorite sports guy. During that time it was this one or that one, without naming the names. The basketball hero or the football hero or the soccer hero or the cricket hero, and I learned who those people are. Then over here is their favorite movie star, the Bollywood movie star of their choice. And over there, on that wall, is the sports car that they want to buy once they get out of school and get their job. And it was often a little red convertible sports car over there. And then, there's their bed, and by the night table is a little picture of Hanuman or somebody. So, role models are standard in the world. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks, if people don't have faith in you and your words, will they not have faith in someone and someone's words? And Krishna says, yes. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but faith is intrinsic to the soul. So if you don't have faith in Krishna, you're going to have faith in something according to the modes of nature. And there's 3 modes of nature. So faith in the mode of goodness looks like this, and faith in the mode of passion looks like that. Faith in the mode of ignorance looks like that. And so the challenge is to move faith to faith in Krishna. And one gets supported by Supersoul within the heart to have faith in, supposing you're a businessman. Money, 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 money. Get money. Money's the honey. Get money. Because I get money, then I'll find happiness. I can buy happiness with money. Get money. then 24/7 they're meditating. Even when they're asleep, they're doing business. Or etc. The sports, the Olympic athlete. If I get that gold medal, happiness. So everything is molded around getting the gold medal. The whole, everything. Anyway, etc., etc. According to the modes of nature. And then there's role models. So the Vedic version of spontaneous love is, the role model is the perfected devotees in the spiritual world, the ragatmika bhaktas, and one aspires to become like them. Not them, but like them. And one molds one's life in such a way to attain the eternal service of Krishna in the association of such eternally perfect souls. Now generally, bhakti is not like that. Bhakti is out of duty. But duty is good. It's not on the same platform as love. They're different. But one can lead to the other. And a lot of going to the other depends upon association with others who have so evolved spiritually that through their association one becomes attracted to the spontaneous type instead of simply the regulative out-of-duty type. I can share this with you as a sannyasi traveling and meeting people all the time. There's some very common standard questions, and it would say one of the top 5 questions is, there's different versions and varieties, but it's when will that stage come, Maharaj, when I'm not just chanting because I'm supposed to chant, but I chant with some taste. There's some genuine deep feeling, arousing and awakening, and I just want to keep chanting and chanting and chanting. I don't want to stop. It's not like Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls it the counting game. You know what I mean by the counting game. So, but regulative is fine. It's a beginning. But to come to that more advanced stage, it takes practice, and it also takes association with those who are more advanced. That's what the scriptures teach us, and practical experience teaches us also. So Prabhupada points out that Raganuga Bhakti is only possible for those who have passed the stage of material contamination. So if anybody wants to volunteer, raise their hand and say, I'm beyond material contamination, then that person is ready for Raganuga Bhakti. And if not, then try to get yourself beyond material contamination so you can come to that stage. It's symptomized by intense longing for Krishna's association, like these cowherd boys. Each of these 3 paintings is the Sakya Rasa within Vrindavan. Here's the Vatsalya Rasa within Vrindavan. And there's the Madhurya Rasa within Vrindavan. And some are more inclined towards this or that or the other. And they're all transcendently wonderful and pure. And according to one's inclination, one may desire the association of Krishna in one of those ways. So now is our last verse. And we've crossed the finish line for Brahma Samhita, at least this segment. So there's no recording for this. So please read the image on the screen, and we'll chant the verse together. Shriya Kanta Kanta Purusha Kalpataravo Droma Bhumish Chintamani Gana Mai Toyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Ganamam Abhivangshi Priyasaki Chidanandam Jyoti Param Apitad Asvadyam Apicha Sa Yatra Shiradbhi Shravati Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Nimeshad Yakyo Vavrajati Nahi Yatrapi Samaya Vaje Shweta Dvipam Tamaham Ikha Golokam Ityam Vidantaste Shantashyati Virada Charakati Paye. And then the translation, here's the word for word. I worship that transcendental seat known as Sweta Dweep, where, as loving consorts, the Lakshmis, in their unalloyed spiritual essence, practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover. Where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem, all water is nectar. Every word is a song. Every gait is a dance. The flute is the favorite attendant. Effulgence is full of transcendental bliss. And the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, like poetry. Where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk. Where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past, present, past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away for even the space of half a moment. That's a nice way to speak of eternal time, isn't it? I'll read it again, so nice. Where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away for even the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. That's the translation of what we just chanted together. We'll discuss briefly Bhaktisiddhanta's comments and other Acharya's comments on this verse. Here's a little summary message. The sum and substance of it, Bhaktisiddhanta's language, is that all the variegatedness of this mundane world and much more variety over and above the mundane are to be found in Goloka. We shared this before. As above, so below. Whatever we find here, it exists because the spiritual counterpart is there. Only here is a reflection, and a perverted reflection at that. We can't, conversely, there's not something here that's not found in the spiritual world. There's only one exception, that's envy. In the spiritual world there's no envy, but anything else that's here is a perverted reflection of that. Stealing in this world. Krishna steals. Krishna steals butter. And he's given a special name for his stealing butter because it's so nice. His name is Makhanchor. But the butter that Krishna steals is his butter, because everything is his. So, but he makes a leela where it looks like it's the other gopis' family's butter, and he goes into the storeroom of the other gopis and steals the butter. And they have a leela where they don't like it, but actually they like it. And there's wonderful leelas connected. If we didn't have, to go home tonight, I could spend a lot of time describing Krishna's pastimes with butter stealing and other things. as above, so below. But the below is perverted and unwholesome, as we've been using Bhaktisiddhanta's language. But in the spiritual world, everything is there that's fully wholesome. The centralized variety of Goloka is unalloyed. Centralized means everything is focused upon Krishna. The centralized variety of Goloka is unalloyed and full of transcendental cognitive joy. That's Ananda and Chit, or cognizance. The Vedas and sadhus practicing devotion, revealed by the Vedas, by availing the support of their individual cognitional aptitude, actuated by devotion, Bhaktisiddhanta's language is up there, may have a sight of divine realm, and by the power of the grace of Krishna, their tiny cognitive faculty attaining the quality of infinitude, they are enabled to be on the level of the plane of enjoyments of Krishna. What was all that? When Krishna is very merciful, he sees the sincere desire in the heart of the very tiny living entity, that's us, not so qualified, but very sincere, and wishing to become pure and qualified to be in Krishna's association. He sees that and whoop, he just lifts that soul to this same plane as himself and discloses himself, I am like this. Prabhupada said like that in relation to the deity installation in Los Angeles of Rukmini Dwarkadish. He said you should worship Krishna, those of you that do deity worship either in your home or here at the temple. You should worship Krishna in such a way that you just simply want to please him. And when you have that kind of devotion, one day Krishna will speak with you and he will say, I am like this. Same idea as what's in this paragraph, just different language. Bhaktisiddhanta's language is very high. So finally, there's this Bhaktisiddhanta within the purport expresses, in the Sanskrit of the verse there's a hidden meaning. And then he's going to disclose the hidden meaning. And what's that hidden meaning? It's in the words param api tad asvadyam apicha. So we chant it regularly. Bhaktisiddhanta is disclosing what it means. Even the supreme, that is also nevertheless the object of enjoyment. What is that? I'll give you a hint. It's Lord Chaitanya. This is, before there's even creation. Before, it's just, Lord Brahma is on a lotus flower grown from the abdomen of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and there's nothing except darkness. There's nobody to talk to. There's no place to go and say hello to somebody. There's nothing. There's no somebody. There's darkness. Like, being in a closet with the light out for thousands of years. We'd go nuts. But Brahma went ecstatic because he was chanting his mantra and having these realizations about not only Goloka, but Lord Chaitanya. So what's the mystery of Lord Chaitanya? Because he's in Svetadweep. There's the clock keeps moving, so I can't give you all these nice details. The chief biographer of Lord Chaitanya's life was Vrindavan Das Thakur, and he was called the Vyas of Gaura Leela, of Lord Chaitanya's pastime, because Vyas wrote about Krishna's life. And Vrindavan Das wrote about Lord Chaitanya's life. So he was called the Vyas of Lord Chaitanya. And he always spoke of the place of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in this biography as Svetadweep. He was an educated person. He knew about this Svetadweep. This Svetadweep is the abode of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Brahma before there was even a universe. He's describing Lord Chaitanya in Svetadweep. Here's how Bhaktisiddhanta reveals it. No, this isn't it. Well, let me see. Yeah, it's the sequence of the verses is not in order. Let's go over here. Here it is. Everything in Goloka is of the same spiritual essence as the Lord Himself, and is therefore suitable for being relished by the Lord. So, Krishna and Krishna's name are the same, Krishna and Krishna's form are the same, Krishna and Krishna's abode are the same. Because He's absolute. That's that statement. Yet, the word param api means although. So, although param, although transcendental, indicates Sri Krishna is the absolute truth. So although He's the absolute truth, the words tad asvadyam api means His object of enjoyment. Means even the Supreme, that is also nevertheless the object of enjoyment. What is that? Krishna occupies the position as the enjoyer of love. And there's the object. Krishna is the object of love. So what's that? Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Radha, the one that has love for the object. So although He's the object, He takes the position of one who's the abode of love towards the object. You follow? Should I say it again? I'll say it again. No harm. Although Krishna is the object of love in the spiritual world, although that is so, He also takes the position of the shelter of love towards the object of love. Ashraya Vishaya. If you were here with us earlier, you heard those terms a number of times. Maybe you got confused by them. It's like, the heart is like a vessel. The abode of, and inside is prema, or bhakti. Our heart is a bhakti vessel. And we're feeling devotion towards something, towards an object of devotion. Krishna is the object of devotion, and our heart is the place where bhakti is towards the object. So, or Radha is the superlative vessel, the ashraya, or the abode of love for Krishna. So although Krishna is the object, He also takes the position of the shelter of love. That's Lord Chaitanya. You got it? So Bhaktisiddhanta is saying within this nice verse that we just chanted, lovely verse, that's very poetic, it's disclosing Lord Chaitanya. Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, he says, this verse is saying, when people walk, their walking is like dancing. So, I don't know, from the India perspective, maybe a Bharatanatyam dancer, they are a classical dancer, it's so beautiful. And in Goloka, all walking is like that. So Jiva Goswami says, if their walking is like that, what's their dancing? And when people speak, some people have a very pleasing sound when they sing. And in the Goloka, all speaking is singing. So what's the singing like? And all water is like nectar. You know, nectar, like we have the bathing ceremony, the Abhishek on Janmashtami, and there's so many nice substances, and we serve out the Abhishek, and it's so nice. But in Goloka, all water is like nectar. So then he asks, what's the nectar like? It's like, you know, so thick, it's like a jar of honey. You turn it, it doesn't go whoosh. It's just slowly oozes out like honey. The nectar of Goloka. And all the trees, we had this discussion earlier, all the trees are purpose trees or wish-fulfilling trees. The land is wish-fulfilling gems. The cows are wish-fulfilling cows. As we said earlier, just about everything can supply just about anything. That's Goloka. And the presiding person, the all-attractive Krishna is attracting the attention of everyone. And all varieties and all different rasas of love. It's a sublime place. What a wonderful way to end these wonderful Govinda prayers. It's just, it's very, very, very joyful. So I want to go back. Yeah, this is just a summary. In his last slide and we're done. Jiva Goswami, I'm a Jiva Goswami fan. He's a role model for me. You know, not the other ones. Jiva Goswami is, I'm a fan. So, in his Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, he has written like this. It's mentioned, you know, the effulgence, the jyoti, the effulgence there is filled with ananda, filled with bliss. So in these verses, the word jyoti, effulgence, indicates that in the spiritual realm of Goloka Vrindavan, there are a spiritual and eternal sun and moon. We talked about this earlier. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the spiritual world, everything is effulgent, so there's no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita. But here we're finding in Goloka there's sun and moon. But the sun and moon are there for one purpose only. The internal potency, or Yogamaya potency, is making the arrangements for Krishna's pastimes. And that sun and that moon are not destroyed at the time of cosmic annihilation, because they're eternal. And he's explaining this verse in his Krishna Sandarbha. He refers to the Gautamiya Tantra that says, in Goloka, every night, it's a full moon. No phases of the moon. No Ekadasi fasts. Full moon. For Krishna's pastimes. And he comments, the Samayo na Vrajati, the residents of Goloka Vrindavan, are so immersed in love of Krishna and enthralled by their pastimes with him, they forget about time. This phrase should not be interpreted to mean that there is no sequence of events. There was some question earlier in this seminar about what's the role of time in the spiritual world, and we discussed briefly, time is eternal, but there is the sense of sequencing of events. Like it's morning, and the cows start, moo, let's go to the pasturing ground and be with Krishna. And the cowherd boys, They didn't sleep at night anyways because they're so much anticipating being with Krishna again. They're at the doorway waiting. Mother Yasoda, hurry up and finish dressing Krishna. Let's go. And then all day they're gone with the cows and the cowherd boys, with Krishna and Balaram. So there's the sense of time, but not time as we know. Because time as we know destroys things. But there's no destruction of things. There's no time, that kind of time in the spiritual world. It's only Yogamaya time. Time for pastime with Krishna time. Eternal time. It's mysterious. It's different than here. Bhumi Chintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Ganamam. He's commenting in his Krishna Sandarbha about this verse from Brahma Samhita. That's why I've included it here. Okay. So this is, we're done. This is a poster some artists have put together depicting a verse from Brahma Samhita. If you can look, maybe you can see on the left-hand margin, Devi Dam, Mahesh Dam, Hari Dam, and at the top is Goloka Dam. So mainly the focus of attention in Brahma Samhita is on the Goloka Dam. So we're going to take a closer look at that top, Goloka, Vrindavan. There's the depiction from verses 3 through 5 with that lotus with many petals in the center, and that white region outside, that's the Sweta Dvipa mentioned in this verse 56. That's why I'm showing this image. That's the Sweta Dvipa area. And within that Sweta Dvipa area, Lord Chaitanya is also there. Is there a problem? There we go. There's Radha and Krishna in the center. So I'll end with this. That's variety number 2. Okay. Those who are associates of Lord Chaitanya have this amazing future, eternal future. And that is from the verse of Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Jajadante Kalevaram. Yeah, so just that part. As you smaran, whatever you remember, ante, at the end of life, whatever the mind is fixed upon at the end of life, that state you will attain without fail, Krishna says. It's describing, on the one hand, the soul's transmigration, going from one body to the next body to the next body. Whatever your mind is fixed on, that's where you're going to go, the next body. But supposing your mind is fixed upon Krishna, so what happens? You go to Krishna. And in Krishna's abode is Goloka. So go Goloka. Go to Goloka. But if you're following the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, listen carefully. My dear devotees, listen carefully. Because in this, as this image shows, there's the abode of Krishna in the center. In that white area, there's also the abode of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, if you're a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you'll attain the eternal association of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna. Although you're one soul, your situation eternally will be in Lord Chaitanya's service as well as in Krishna's service. The technology is not described, how that happens. But Krishna reciprocates with our love And because Lord Chaitanya is experiencing love of Krishna, although he's Krishna, as Radha feels love for Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya has his associates when he performs his earthly pastimes, so also in his eternal abode. One will be able to associate. It's a travel advertisement. Get a ticket for Goloka Vrindavan with Lord Chaitanya, because then you'll be able to enjoy eternal pastimes with Lord Chaitanya and with Krishna. But at that stage, it's not like a travel advertisement. The heart becomes moved by love, and when one's heart is moved by love in that way, that's what happens. It's disclosed in this purport. That's the future, the eternal destination of the souls engaged in Lord Chaitanya's service. Transcendently amazing. So there's a number of devotees here who stuck it out through the whole seminar. Lots of hours. I don't know how many, but lots of them. So thank you all for your participation. I've had several devotees say that they look forward to these seminars, and I can tell you, I really look forward to these seminars. I don't know, several hundred hours I've spent for these 2 seminars. That's a lot of time for a busy devotee. But it's really nice because I enjoy being with an audience that likes to hear. I miss Brajahari's presence because he's right in the front with his ears like this. Whoa! But it's nice to know the people online, but it's nice to have Brajahari sitting right in the front row like, whoa. And so many of you have been, so enthusiastic. It's enlivening for the speaker. So if you have many persons who've shared, oh, it's so nice, and I'm sharing with you, oh, it's so nice being with an audience that you like to hear. And from the questions and the participation, you're hearing, and it's moving your hearts. And for somebody that does the service that I do, that's my satisfaction, is being in that kind of relationship with all of you. You're a great audience. Thank you all very much. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. So I've gone way past my time. Yes? Way past my time. So we're not going to take questions. We'll have whatever we're supposed to do next. Arti, right? Okay. Śrīla Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanandi.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This is the month of the December Marathon. So December Marathon is started by disciples of Srila Prabhupada to distribute his books. So let me tell you a little story. Yesterday I went to the university district, and there was a mother who was saying that her son is missing, and she was in great grief. I talked to her about the Bhagavad Gita, the science of the soul, a little bit, maybe in 2 minutes or less, and she immediately took a book. So giving a book about Krishna is the best thing you can do. And as a part of this December marathon, what we are trying to do is basically give out books to people who cannot afford them, or they can only maybe pay partial payment. So we have this sponsor Bhagavad Gita's program. You can sponsor 16 Bhagavad Gitas for $100. And we have already distributed, or rather collected names for 61 boxes. We are 39 to go. So whoever can give this happiness that you are experiencing now to the general population outside of this building, so you could sponsor a box for $100. And then you don't have to pay it right away. You could pay it over the next few weeks, next Sunday perhaps. But it's a very great thing to be able to sponsor a box of Bhagavad Gitas. Thank you very much. So yeah, maybe I'll give a little bit more information. We are looking for 100 people to take a box each. And when you take a box, we are giving those to you at the cost price. So it's not like the full price, the cost price only. And here is a letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to Tamal Krishna Goswami, who is one of the senior disciples, regarding Sankirtan and book distribution. Both should go on, but book distribution is more important. It is Brihat Kirtana. So you can do Kirtan, but when you donate a book or when you give out a book, that is even a better Kirtan. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. So Bhagavad Gita, $100 for a box that you can sponsor, and we will distribute. There are several devotees who are enthusiastic to distribute them. Go out in the cold, stand in the cold, and distribute these books on your behalf. So we also started something known as Burrito Sankirtan. So what we do is, downstairs in the kitchen, we prepare these burritos. Some of the devotees prepare these burritos, and then we distribute them free of cost in the Seattle University district and other parts as well. We did this on Gaura Purnima day also. So here's a picture. You can see that we have Ajamil Prabhu, who is a great singer, going with Harulas Prabhu, and we have Nitya Gauranga also on the side. So here is one of the Mataji, Shalini Mataji, distributing a book. She's also very enthusiastic out there. That is Divya Drishti Mataji along with Shalini distributing a book. Again, Sankirtan. So we are in front of the dollar store near University District, again singing the glories of Krishna. Here are some more devotees talking. So here's Ajamil Prabhu giving out some free burritos. Here's somebody looking at the Bhagavad Gita, the science of the soul. Here's our entire team in the University District, led by Harivilas Prabhu, our temple president and GBC member. Here's one of the devotee distributing a book to a university student, UW. You see the W on the T-shirt.